Financial Secretary John Tsang today unveiled proposals for a series of sweeteners worth nearly $39 billion in his ninth budget. And an all-new silver bond will be issued to help senior citizens invest their savings and to try to make sure they catch and stay up with inflation. Diane To begins our coverage tonight.
The largest amount of money put into sweeteners in 4 years. Financial Secretary John Tsang proposed $38.8 billion worth of one-off relief measures.
I have to emphasize that relief measures are different from recurring expenditure. Relief measures aim to help citizens cope with the current financial pressure and serve as a counter-cyclical measure to preserve economic stability and safeguard employment.
People will see rebates again in salaries tax, tax under personal assessment, and profits tax of 75%. That's subject to a ceiling of $20,000. For property owners, Tsang plans to waive rates for 4 quarters, subject to a ceiling of $1,000 per quarter for each rateable property. He also plans to increase the basic married people and single-parent allowances and allowances for people taking care of dependent parents or grandparents. Apart from another issuance of the I-bond, Tsang proposed for the first time a silver bond to take care of Hong Kong's aging population. This will be an investment product with steady returns aimed at local residents aged 65 and above. For the needy, Tsang has set aside $2.8 billion for an extra month's allowance, such as welfare, elderly and disability allowances. The Chief Secretary for Administration pointed out that just within this term of government, welfare recurrent expenditure has grown by 40%, which is much higher than the overall expenditure growth. That includes a 13.4% increase in recurrent spending for welfare budgeted for the coming financial year.
So I think the figures speak for themselves, that this government is very much concerned about the welfare of the elderly, about alleviating poverty and also the disadvantaged people.
But many grassroots organizations have criticized Tsang for dropping the 1-month public housing rental waivers, which had been included in his previous budgets. They say the government has the money to offer such help to those in need. Diane To, TVB News.
John Tsang has forecast a 1 to 2% GDP growth in 2016, which is lower than last year's. Now, amid slowing economic growth, the Financial Secretary has unveiled measures to boost SMEs and the tourism sector. As Ronnie Samtani reports, help is also on the way for Hong Kong's creative industries.
John Tsang pointed out that recent incidents in Hong Kong have had an adverse effect on tourism and overall economic development.
These include a handful of people choosing to express their views and political demands using irrational and uncivilized tactics. These destructive acts have not only damaged the economy but also severely tarnished Hong Kong's reputation.
To help the tourism industry, he announced that license fees for travel agents, hotels and guest houses, as well as restaurants and hawkers will be waived for 1 year. This will cost the government $140 million. However, the Hong Kong Federation of Restaurants and Related Trades said license fees cost an eatery about $10,000 a year, so this won't really help that much. In another bid to boost tourism, millions will be spent on expanding the scale of major events. These include the Formula E Championship, which will be held in Hong Kong for the first time, the Wine and Dine Festival, and other international sporting events. The development of innovation and technology is also on the agenda. $500 million will go towards a pilot technology voucher program to subsidize the use of technological services and solutions by SMEs to improve productivity. John Tsang also expressed interest for Hong Kong to join the fintech revolution. Fintech is usually a term applied to tech startups that use technology to make financial business services quicker and easier. This includes electronic payments and transfers, equity crowdfunding, as well as wealth and asset management. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the Securities and Futures Commission, and the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance will set up financial technologies dedicated platforms to liaise with the industry. As for creative development, 3 proposals made by an advisory group will be implemented to boost the local fashion industry. These include stepping up promotion of local designers and brands. And an additional $20 million will be injected into the Film Development Fund to promote locally produced Cantonese films on the mainland. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
The budget surplus in the 2015-16 fiscal year is projected to hit $30 billion. Now, that's smaller than what many analysts had forecast. Evelina Leung gives us a breakdown of the numbers.
Zhang Zheng said today government revenue for the current fiscal year is estimated at $457 billion. This is $20 billion less than the original estimate. The financial secretary said that was the result of the $45 billion set aside for the housing reserve and changes in different incomes. Government expenditure, meanwhile, is estimated at $427 billion, $14 billion less than the original estimate. So the government has an estimated surplus of $30 billion. The financial secretary said 1/3 of the surplus will go towards the Future Fund, which is used to secure higher investment returns for the government's fiscal reserves. Looking forward, Zhang said total public spending for 2016 to 2017 will go up to $490 billion. As for recurrent spending, education, social welfare, and healthcare services will see the largest increases. And the financial secretary warned of a deficit in the next few years because of spending on healthcare reform and retirement protection.
I forecast an annual surplus in the operating account and an annual deficit in the capital account in the 4 financial years from 2017-18. There will be a deficit in the consolidated account in 2018-19 and 2019-20, which mainly reflects government's financial allocation for the healthcare reform and retirement protection.
Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
John Tsang's budget drew rare words of praise from across the political spectrum. And as Diane To reports, many politicians remark that it seemed more like a chief executive campaign speech.
John Tsang gave what could be called a more stately speech than usual while unveiling his budget proposals. In a starkly different tone to the government's previous comments on the political conflicts in Hong Kong, Tsang offered a more introspective view of the situation.
What we are facing today is the result of a raft of intricately related factors. We need to look squarely at these factors in resolving the differences, and more importantly, we need to have the determination to resolve these conflicts.
Atop the usual criticisms about the budget's inadequacies, such as in long-term expenditure commitments, this time there was a rare wash of positive feedback.
Society to change economically and socially. And he listens and reacts to what he needs to do to make Hong Kong better. That's very, very important.
I certainly have noticed that the financial secretary made a deliberate effort to speak from the point of view of a Hong Konger and expressed empathy with the social polarizations experienced by many in Hong Kong. That will help him score some brownie points.
And brownie points he scored, even with pan-Democrats, who compared Tsang's attitude with Leung Chun-ying's in his policy address given in January.
There are huge discrepancy in terms of direction and emphasis. So we welcome this difference, and we hope that the financial secretary will continue this direction to lead Hong Kong.
At least John Tsang has the humility enough to admit that there are shortcomings within the government, within the administration that need to be looked at, and he actually already set up within the administration a body to look into the problem with a view to improving and solving them.
The Liberal Party noted that Tsang's closing remarks, which spoke of people's love for Hong Kong prevailing over challenges ahead, felt like a campaign speech. This echoed the observation from People Power's Albert Chan earlier that the FS smiled when Chan commented he had made a chief executive campaign announcement. Tsang's response?
Albert Chan said that, but he's always blabbering. Don't take him seriously.
Diane To, TVB News.
Special meeting of the Legislative Council to discuss the Copyright Amendment Bill was cut short today due to a miscount of members present. This means 10 hours worth of scheduled meeting time has been wasted. During the meeting, People Power's Raymond Chan called for a quorum count. LegCo President Tsang Yak-seng adjourned the meeting after staff mistakenly counted only 34 legislators in the chamber. It was later confirmed that 35 lawmakers were actually present, the number needed to form a quorum. Tsang said he regretted the mistake and said a review will be carried out to improve counting measures. He also warned legislators not to enter the chamber all at the same time, just a few seconds before the count is made.